I'll be right back. Don't worry. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Jerry, how we doing?
We want to make it. Just coming back from the legal side of the
Yeah.
product development. You in there with the product developers, right?
Yeah, product development, doing a nice workshop with the creative team, and man, what an incredible Thinkler demo this has been.
Oh, it certainly has been. We're looking at. So we have some exciting news that's on there. So it's just on with Gerard McCabe, who's down in New York, holding down the fort in the office.
Fantastic.
And Workcation is now an official trademark with the intent to use by the USPTO for which is going to now be subject to. We were just drafting up the assignation agreement that goes over to Pillow and Tea.
That's great news for them.
And I'll tell you one of the things. I know you've been working with Pillow and Tea, back over there in the development side. And one of the things you really, everybody out there, first of all, MGSN is covering this. MGSN, everybody out there, all those young followers and new entrepreneurs, no matter what age you are, who are out there in MGSN land. First off, happy to be here and being hosted by Thinkland Demo, which is now going to be going on the road very soon over to Asia. That's on there. And we like to talk about this product development called Workcation, and how if you're a new entrepreneur, or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, or frankly, you're an intrapreneur who now has to constantly come up with product developments, the Thinkland Product Development Lab. You guys got to see, if you're following along in MGSN, the beautiful studios that have been built into the new studios into the Thinkland campus. Absolutely fantastic job, Mac.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've been working with all of our incubating companies in the KLJ incubator is the need to have strategic product development. All right, where you align yourself with the parties that will be strategic to your growth. That's on there. And so we're going to talk about Workcation. And one of the things, if you are owners of workspaces, you want to reach out to Pillow and Tea. Because what Pillow and Tea has started doing, it started when you do product development, it doesn't come overnight. You have to work at it. And this goes all the way back to the very early boot camps in 2020. Which, that was kind of a tough year, 2020. So we had to do it all virtually, was with respect to development of the travel tech company that was on there. Now, you might recall because you were involved in this, and I was virtually calling in from New York at the time that you guys were able to get a nice little secure place for where that was COVID compliant in Stowe, Vermont.
Yes.
And the concept generation that we did virtually. Again, folks, no matter how difficult things are, as an entrepreneur, you try to figure some way to get out and around this. So Stowe, Vermont is normally in the summertime. It's a tourist place, right? Yeah, but the locations were restricted. What they could do, what they didn't do. You guys complied with the law, got the setup going, and then the first concept of a travel tech came and was presented to the lawyers down in New York. Interesting aspect of that is all from that year, the dedicated founder of what's now Pillow and Tea. And we had various alphas and betas in normal product development. And now we're up to the point where this travel tech company did a bang-up job over in Europe with DEMO25, is now handling all the logistics here in the workshop in Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine, by the way, first time in my life here, I was told by these young entrepreneurs in our incubator, you better be a little bit more in tune to where young people and what their needs are, and even people who are not, who don't make the salaries that lawyers make, as to what they need in order for them to have a thriving capability. And that's an important point, to develop their startup. And Portland, Maine fits that. And we'll get into that because you'll be very attuned to this, since we went through the show that we shot last night, is that there is a need to conserve cash. And housing is expensive, transportation is expensive, food is expensive, and then you need spaces to work. because you can't stay in your cramped apartment and work all the time. Your creativity will be crushed by the monotony of being boxed into a place. This is where Pillow and Tea, folks, comes in handy with this new product, Workation. Okay, now workation is everything what it sounds like. You take a vacation to get refreshed. Okay, but if you take a vacation and don't do anything about work, then that's really not helping you out. But if you do a workation where you're now going for your creative side, for your productivity side, for your strategic alignment side, then you might as well also enjoy where you are so that you can catch that refreshing aspect of it, thus the term workation. That's on. And it's not like, okay, part of it is work and then the other part of it's fun that's on there for anybody. It's an immersive experience that you have that's on there. Now, the reason I did a shout out to all you independent operators of workspaces, I was pitched with the idea. Mac has been in with the development team because what is being developed out of Thinkland, and this is going to be on display when you're in Asia, is the product development line. When you have a business, there's only going to be two things you're going to be offering. Well, there's three things I should say. One, you're a social impact entrepreneur, and you're offering that you're going to solve a societal need. Frankly, there was a post that was in the X account of MGSN that deals with the NGO reaction to the U.S. aid being pulled out and the unreliability of government-sponsored aid versus the role that the NGOs will have. It's a great article that they featured on the New York Times, and how the NGOs are now a little like overwhelmed with the pressure that's being put on them. But listen, this is a market disruption. It happens. The NGOs are very well placed to do this. We had a tremendous report from New York City that came in of volunteers who are working for a well-known NGO who are providing food for people in need, which normally they were getting some sort of aid. It's not, the aid's not there. You have to reposition, because remember now, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a funder, that funder might pull the rug out for you. Do you want your company to go under, or do you want to have strategic investments lined up, strategic opportunities lined up? Workation needs workspaces. It needs public transportation, because remember, if you don't have to pay for a car, then you're not burning cash. It needs affordable housing. And what Pillow and Tea's been doing for the last 3 years in this product development is been going from workspaces all over the globe, from the UK, from Ireland, and France. Remember the wonderful places they picked, in France. And I want you to now go a little, Mac, and tell me what you and the product development team, you've been working very hard with Pillow and Tea, how you guys picked Portland, Maine. Because when they told me that the workshop, they would like to host in Portland, Maine, and I said, okay, I know Portland, Oregon, but I never heard of Portland, Maine. That's on. And my knowledge of Maine was quite, quite ignorant. This is the first time I've ever been to Portland, Maine. But boy, am I surprised at it's a real entrepreneurial city.
It is.
You got a lot of young entrepreneurs here. Some of those entrepreneurs are working down in Boston and commuting up here for a very special reason. Now, that's my opening statement there out there in MGS land. Matt, can you tell me why you guys picked Portland? Can you tell me how that plays into workation? And can you tell me some of the work that you guys are doing in developing this review? Because if you're now a young entrepreneur or a guy like me who just wants to start out in the entrepreneurial world, I'm going to say, well, wait a minute, I don't have a lot of money now. I'm on Social Security. I got bounced from my job, and I had a little bit of money saved up. I'm going to have to do something. I don't feel like necessarily saying, is waiting tables going to be my life? Or is that just going to be a funder for a portion of one of the things I've always wanted to do? But I can't afford the rent of a commercial building. And I frankly would like to sell my house and get a little do-re-mi in my pocket and be able to now rent a nice, affordable place. Tell me, does Portland meet those guidelines?
It goes beyond that. And I think when we talk about those opportunities for startups and these incredible places, huge shout out to Pillow and Tea, because if you've been following MGSN.net, again, go to MGSN.net. We've been developing these podcasts throughout, and you can Pillow and Tea has been kind of the backbone of all these logistics and travel logistics over the past few years. Whether like you mentioned, all the way back to Stowe, Vermont, even during the pandemic, in Europe the last year, during the Olympics, they've been so seamless with our travel logistics. And, when they came to us and they pitched Portland, Maine, I mean, this is an incredible city. One of the cities in the United States that I think is one of the most underrated cities. And not only just from a place to visit, which is it's so beautiful, and of course, I would say for anyone that's like looking to find a workation or go on a nice business trip or even a vacation itself, Portland, Maine is the city. It's got everything you need, great food, great transportation, like you were saying. But the reason we really chose this is not only is it a credible young vibrant city for students and young entrepreneurs. But again, back to the whole idea of how do you take advantage of the public resources at hand when you're bootstrapping, when you're a solo preneur, or a small startup. You might not be able to afford that big, nice, fancy commercial rental space. What Pillow and Tea has allowed us to platform, especially in this Thinkland demo, is these different co-working spaces, and platform the incredible city like Portland, Maine, where you have, great public transportation, great community colleges. I mean, these are opportunities for kids coming right out of high school, all readily available. And if you're looking for an affordable city to go to, I mean, I can't think of a better one than Portland, Maine. So to be able to have our expo here and to show all of our other incredible founders, during Thinkland demo, this incredible city, it's been phenomenal. Because when you get to the root of, hey, how am I going to bootstrap? How am I going to try and develop my products and do that in an affordable way, and to really not go through that cash burn and expand my runway a little bit longer. I mean, Portland, Maine is one of those places that I mean, I'm happy to even dive further into this, because I think there's so many aspects here that you can hit on when it comes to incredible opportunities for young entrepreneurs.
You know, you're striking on some points that because we were dealing with the trademark office and with the lawyers back in New York.
Mhm.
But I poked my head into the development part, and I know you guys had gotten some lunch, which, by the way, I hadn't eaten since early in the morning. So I grabbed some of your bon wheat.
Oh yeah.
What a fantastic lunch that you guys got, and I'm really taken back at the absolute scope of diverse food options. I'm not really a foodie, but I don't mind eating the old foodie.
So many food options
And
here. Yeah.
that lunch that I poked in, and then one of the things these guys had a working lunch, right? And we're talking about Portland, and we're talking about one of the things that you do when you do product development is, in order to have your success, and sometimes sometimes you have a service line, you have a product line, and then sometimes you have something in between, right? That's in there. Not getting into the social impact, we'll deal with that on another show, because those are different standards, but not really. You really have to run your not-for-profit like a business. But one of the things you do when you do product development, and we've done product development, and we worked with one of the principals over at Pillow and Tea, who is an engineer by trade, and been doing product development on the renewable energy front for years, working as this engineer in engineering sales. That's on there. But one of the things I like about that company is the way the founder, how she takes that engineering background to say, we're going to do a product, we're going to be really meticulous in that product development, and there has to be what? Universal application. You have to address a market stress point. Now, a market stress point is one of the lessons that we were teaching at the workshop. We repeat it over and over again. There's two things that drive a market stress point. A, there is a need. There's a basic need that the current market is not providing. Or there's a current want or desire that it's not a necessary need, but people want it really badly. They for example, right before I left New York, Paul McCartney announced a pop-up concert that was going to happen at like 8 o'clock at night. He only announced it, on social media at 6 p.m.
Wow.
It was sold out by 6:30 p.m. So did anybody was going to die if they didn't go to that concert? Of course not. But at the end of the day, whatever money they were willing to spend and whatever time, how they were going to disrupt their evening, completely sold out. And that's a market stress point. So now there's only going to be a limited number of seats that were available, and everybody wanted to jump in there and get there before that happened. And this becomes a real important point. One of the things that we found out in dealing with, we wanted to have a nice dinner in a restaurant. I won't name names. It's just not their fault they were booked solid. But what we found out is that did I have to eat at that restaurant? Of course not. There's plenty of restaurants here, which we did find a wonderful, and I'm going to give a shout out to this restaurant that's on it. Last night, we couldn't get into the restaurant I wanted. Again, I'm not going to, shame you guys in the internet or whatever way you shame things today, because God bless you. Your restaurant's doing good, blah blah blah. It's the dead of winter. And here we are, Portland, and most of the restaurants were filled out. So having the fact that I was going to host people at this dinner, I said, and I dragged them here to Portland. I don't want to say like I dragged them, but they came to Portland, Maine here. So the restaurant, Mac, tell me about that restaurant last night. I know what I say about it. But people are saying, can we hear what Mac's got to say on this?
We talk about the different, diversity of foods and different cultures here in Portland, Maine, which I think is what makes it really attractive for young people and young entrepreneurs. But we had one of the best Korean barbecues I've ever had last night, and in Portland, Maine. It was an absolutely incredible meal put together by Pillow and Tea. Again, they've done all the logistics here. And then even today, I mean, we talk about dead of winter, right? You would think it's the off season in Portland, but no, there's a 2-hour wait at this incredible restaurant, Duck Fat, which I've heard, and we have some Canadian founders, in Think with Demo. They said one of the best poutines they've ever had.
Isn't that something? Now listen, let me just ask our film crew over here. That name of that restaurant we were at last night, what was that? N-T-O Tail. How do you spell tail? T-A-I-L. Boy, look at that. I can speak Korean. Isn't that great?
N-to-tail.
All right. And that's here in Portland. If you guys are going to come up here, you got to go in there. Listen, I've eaten at Korean barbecues all over the world, and I love it. I love Korean barbecue. This one, he's 100% correct. It was top flight. Service, top flight. By the way, wallet, top flight. It wasn't a big meal. If I had that same meal in NYC, I'll tell you something, I'd be limping home, because I got kneecapped with the price. But you don't get that here.
And again, it's the saving the cash burn, right? For a small startup, how do you, expand your runway? How do you, push that down the road where you have more time to, develop your company? And I would say, as far as shout outs go, of course, yesterday was one of the most incredible co-working spaces that we were able to do our workshops in and get some content, co-workers. But
tell me a little about Co-workers. I was there last night. We shot a show there because they had great studio space.
Fantastic.
I cannot tell you how great it is with respect to your cash burn and how you guys preserved a beautiful studio. And this is part and parcel of the workcation product development, the universality of a market need. If I am a startup and I have to preserve my cash and I need to have a nice studio with nice backgrounds, I need to have a workspace that will work with me. So tell me about this and this particular workspace, because it's got a very unique, and for all the young women out there who are not getting the right treatment in the job place because of your gender, there's a workspace that is very cognizant of that and very nurturing of your startup. And Mac, tell me, from here, 2 guys, 1 guy from Boston, 1 guy from New York, we had basically the same sort of assessment in dealing with the women entrepreneurs, because one great thing about our KLG is we do have women-based and owned entrepreneurs. Their response and our assessment matched. Now, that's a good sign of an entity and a service line and a product line that's merging to address a market need. So tell me what the background on this is. Tell me how you and the founder, a woman entrepreneur of Pillow and Tea, who's right now back in the product development side of this meeting, knee deep, and I'd love to pull her out now so she can give her voice on this. But they're knee deep in that product development of workcation. So in the idea of not pulling her out of something important. Let's give like our view on this.
One of the most exciting things, which is incredible, that we got the trademark for workation, because now working with the woman, Pillow and Tea, which is woman founded. I mean, we now, with that concept, she's able to now platform all these incredible opportunities. And I think when you talk about the workation concept, it is really, how do you connect that vacation, and how are you able to create a fun and exciting experience with the business development piece? How, being productive while you're traveling. And I think the key to this really hits home with what Thinklin's trying to do, because when you talk about these different spaces, I mean, these are unique co-working opportunities for young entrepreneurs, but also female entrepreneurs. And I think every company that we kind of platform in this expo has that social impact aspect to it. And Coworkers is very unique in that way, where it's women founded, and Coworkers really focuses on creating a safe and comfortable community for women entrepreneurs and women workers, and create an incredible space for them to feel safe, feel comfortable, and be productive. And I mean, that's incredible. It was an incredible opportunity, really, just to be able to do a workshop there with a lot of our companies that we're working with that are women founded. And just again, everyone there was incredible. And when we talk about not only them, at Coworkers, we're also sitting in an incredible space here, which is another unique opportunity. And this is Think Tank here in the bustling downtown Portland, Maine, one of the biggest co-working spaces north of Boston. And I think what's exciting about this space is that you can see how many companies are involved here. You have publications here, you have solopreneurs here, you have entrepreneurs, young folks. The key to this space, which has been absolutely incredible, and again, shout out to Pillow and Tea for finding this unique co-working space, is you got the Arts and Design School right behind us. You got the Media Center right to our left here. You got, again, the bustle of this town, public transportation flowing down the street. I can't think of a more unique opportunity for all of our founders to see, and then for, of course, everyone following us to really be presented with not only a city, but just, really to show what's out there and how you don't have to go the traditional route. There's so many public resources and opportunities out there readily available for everyone.
So that's a great summation of what the value offering is of this workcation product line. So there's a couple of industries you serve. Where do you go to get a good working environment? And what do you do if you're just not sure how to get even business ideas or how to go through this? Well, the beauty on this is Workcation is an assignated trademark to Pillow and Tea.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a workspace and it's in an environment that will, as Mac was talking about, the nurturing of creativity in the work her space. And that's important because you see, right now, Mac mentioned a term when we were down in Boston Tech. Now, Mac's a Boston Tech guy, and his company's a Boston Tech company. He's got a beautiful campus. And by the way, he stitched together this campus with the most admirable utilization of investor capital that I have seen in my 40-somewhat years in practicing law. And one of the things that he had mentioned is, what's the most valuable thing today? Attention.
Yep.
Attention. Now, you might notice when you watch television out there in MGS land, and hopefully far above, below, or wherever you guys are in the world, is that there is a dearth of creativity and the skill set of creativity in capturing the people's attention. So it used to be when you went into, well, first of all, it used to be that doctors and hospitals never advertised on TV. It was considered like a little gauche.
Yeah.
Right? Now, of course, they're all over the place. Hey, get your kidneys replaced here, get your eyes lifted there, blah, blah, blah. Hey, we got a new ear for you. All of that stuff is being out there. And now what you're seeing is they used to say, we have the best doctors here. We have the best doctors there. You see now it's almost, they put together a short story when they say, hey, here at whatever hospital, you've seen the commercials, Joey there had he had a heart problem and they had to replace his heart. And they have a picture, and these are guys in a deli talking about Joey. He says, did you see Joey? He's like a millionaire. Ah, Joey, you say that about everybody. There's a little sitcom going there. And then you see this guy going up the hill with a big cart of vegetables, and that's Joey. And they saying, hey, Joey, look at Joey. Hey, Joey, you're ready for the ring. And then they're capturing that. How did Joey get that way when he was on death's door? The creativity of creating that short story, that short sitcom that they had, very, very effective. Because you know what? You like Joey. You like that Joey was like 60-something years old. Not that that's old. Pushing up the crate up the hill. It looked like it was Boston. And then coming into the local deli. And when this guy a year ago was on death's door, but he got a heart from this hospital, well-known hospital, that's creativity.
Yep.
That is the attention that Mac talks about. So Mac, you're an expert on this. I'm not. Tell us about attention and tell us why the Pillow and Tea workation brand is nurturing those who are in the creative world or who want to either be an author in books, you want to do white papers, you want to do content development, and you just want to stand out besides all the people who are putting all that content out there. Let's talk about attention, and let's see how Pillow and Tea is able to get that creativity juices going. Going on what Mac talked before. Nurturing environment of work, her space.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about, what is the most valuable asset, a lot of people, will say data, but really is attention, because without attention, how do you collect that data?
So
And
I'm an ignorant guy. I don't know what that means. Can you explain that to people who are in my position, what attention is?
Yeah, attention is influence. Attention nowadays is sales. Attention is how do you sell your product. I mean, the only way to grow a community now is with gaining people's attention and doing that as authentically and showing your vision in your brand, in your company, as authentically as you possibly can. And you do this now through content. You see how everything in digital marketing is trending towards video content. You see that with our development, Thinkland startup, developing the Global Creative Center. And I think, again, this goes hand in hand with what Pillow and Tea is trying to do with this workation, a brand and concept. And that is there's no longer this idea of you work at a company, you stay in one location for your whole career. That's out the window. For young millennials, for Gen Z, for the younger generations, this whole concept of what it means to work is out the window. And for people that are, willing enough to be entrepreneurs or go start their startups and all of these different things, I think there's so much more opportunity there to, in these different cities, especially traveling. So this whole idea of workation really comes from this very familiar term, and we can dive into this a little bit, my friend, is the digital nomad. And I think the digital nomad is something that, not everyone is super familiar with, but it's a term where if you go to other parts of the world, there's different opportunities in different locations, right? Just like Portland, Maine, right? The cost might be a bit lower, and you might have more access to public transportation, more access to incredible co-working spaces, more access to the arts, and more access to other startups. So there's advantages to moving around this earth and working with different companies. I think for someone just starting, if you aren't, while you're young, especially, and where you have the least amount of, I'd say, personal responsibility and anchors, this is the time where you can get up and hustle and go in different parts of this world and really find these opportunities. And I think the incredible thing about this workation concept that we're developing with Pillow and Tea is that leaving your culture and experiencing different cultures, gives you foresight and experience in different places, not only different places of the world, but different business opportunities. And that's the connector, connecting, travel with that productivity, travel with that global opportunity, travel with that digital development. And that's something that we're really trying to piece together with Pillow and Tea, this workation, concept. And I think it's a beautiful thing because, how do we do this? We do this with creating a really good content. And that's what Pillow and Tea has allowed us to do. Hand in hand with our Global Creative Center, hand in hand with our team at Thinkland, we're able to create dynamic content in really dynamic and disruptive cities like Portland, Maine, and show to the public, here are your opportunities. And I think that's the biggest value that company provides, because that's a founder that knows not only places, but opportunities. And yeah, again, just super excited about this development with them. And yeah, just exciting times. It's been quite a workshop with them the last few days.
It has been. When I poked in and started mooching off the lunch you guys got for them, I was really impressed with how engaged and refreshed our KLG companies have been, because it's a getaway. And when you're talking about creativity, you can't force it. You can't force it at all. And we've been dealing with the creative community for decades that were on there. We do a lot of litigation in the intellectual property area. We do prosecutions on the intellectual property devices. And one of the things about the creators, and we've dealt with the whole concept of I got writer's block. And when you do writing, legal writing, there's there's some creativity with respect to how it's analyzed, that's on it, but you're dealing with it, sets of facts. Some of those legal principles have been around for 4,000 years. Creativity, though, is a little different. Creativity, you're going to get this block, and especially if you're a content writer right now, some companies are opting out for utilizing AI to fill in the blogs and do. I don't see a problem with a creator, somebody who's creative, utilizing that for some sort of tool as a separate and distinct tool. I can tell, and I can tell when I read a blog that this has been regurgitated out of, because a creative person, I don't care how good AI eventually gets. At the end of the day, there's something inherently unique in the human experience that's different from every other form of life on this planet. And that is what a good creator does. They capture that unique experience. If you want to be a writer on a comedy series, we all know, we've watched, we won't mention any names, TV shows where you say, wow, that wasn't funny. That's on there. And it's a challenge, because you have to do what Mac mentioned before. Your product, whether it's a comedy that you're writing, whether it's a blog that you're writing, whether it is a white paper, it's got to capture the attention of a community or a group in a marketplace that doesn't have a strong attention span. It's and by the way, not for nothing, this isn't brand new. You always heard about the elevator speech. This is something you have to get people's attention. Just now, if you're running a company like Mac, you know how to monetize that. You know how to focus in on that. And you have a team that you deal with, because they've spent the time creating strategic alliances and partnerships across the globe in order to help enhance that. Now, what Workation brings to this is, no matter, you see that robot or that AI or the LLM, they'll spit the thing out in seconds. No doubt about it. But will that capture anything? Or will it just look the same? Yeah, I read this in this blog and that blog and this blog and that blog. If you see some of the pictures that pop up on all sides, they all look kind of the same. Now, that doesn't capture attention. Creativity does. That needs to be nurtured. Now, I'm a writer. I just got laid off from a tech company. I'm living in Boston. And Boston Tech, a lot of creativity there in that, but I really can't afford to stay here. And I got a choice of going back home and living it with my parents, or with some relatives, or with some friends. I'm in this cramped little space. How can I write? Well, I'll go to the library. Okay, everything, I'm all settled in on this library, and now a class comes in, and now your concentration, your capability has been impaired. Remember, I'm a big public library as a resource, but there are times you need an escape. You need a workation in order for you to get refreshed, because when you go on vacation, you come back refreshed. When you go on workation and you got a goal that you want to accomplish, that's the beauty of the Pillow Tea experience. You come back refreshed, you get energized, just like I saw at that luncheon. that you guys were sponsoring with Pillow and Tea. That creativity is there, and now here's the point: we're in this beautiful, beautiful think tank, which aligns so well with Think Lin, that that the creativity has been immense. Now we also let's just talk about the non-creative people
Yeah.
out there, the lawyers. We have been doing this Asia demo that Max Company is sponsoring after a very successful demo in Europe this past summer. Requires a significant amount of time for that my support staff has been doing. Uh, that's on there. And and by the way, that support staff has been phenomenal because they've been running back and forth doing support for Pillow and Tea. They've been doing support for you. They've been doing support for me. All on, sometimes you think, hey, is this the same person or is this a group here? It's just hard to figure that out. But one of the things that we got is we spent a lot of time processing the visas, processing what type of visas do we have to be in? How long we're going to be in this city? There's different visas for different parts of the world there. It gets to be monotonous, but because there's such a creative buzz that you and Pillow and Tea have created in this think tank, that we've been able to get that done without the normal sort of monotony. You just felt like, hey, we're riding that wave of creativity that is absolutely oozing out of this think tank.
That's important because there's things that are going to come up every day in your company as you're starting your startup. There's going to be dullness there, right? There's going to be things that are just, you got to grind it out. You got to fill out that visa, and you got to do those business paperwork. You got to work with lawyers and file and do all of your business operations. And sometimes that's a grind. Sometimes that's not fun. And I think you hit on a lot of, maybe the theme here, which is what Pillow and Tea does, is it takes what is so important, and this is something that you even mentioned within AI right now, is the human experience, the human condition. This is something that AI can't explain. This is something that they get to experience. That's why in the creative space, it's important to do things that really, really enrich the human experience and the human condition. And that's something that Pillow and Tea does. When we do these excursions and these expos like Thinkland Demo, we go to these beautiful places, we see the incredible landscape, we experience the incredible culture and the arts and the food, and it enriches the human experience. It gets the creative juices flowing, which is a lot of our startups are in the creative space. But then it also allows us to get through the grind and to do it with enough energy, to really collaborate and fulfill a lot of the businesses that you need to get done every single day. So, that workation, again, it comes down to that concept of you're tying in that leisure with that productivity. You're tying in those business opportunities, with that vacationing. And I think that's super important. And that's something that, again, I don't think a robot's ever going to be able to replace that. There's a reason why you still need an incredible founder that understands what humans need, because the farther you move away from humanity, we've seen this, it's a really bad situation. You got to always bring it back to the human space and the human condition and getting through all these different things when it comes to life and when it comes to your company. So yeah, again, I appreciate this because this is something that I'm glad you brought up, because when people talk about, ooh, my AI can do this and they're going to replace this. Well, at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to replace that human condition. There's something that when we're in that creative space, especially, visual artists and people that are creating, whether it's films and writing, you have to be in that almost like it's beyond the rational, it's beyond the logical. You have to be in that almost spiritual space where you're able to funnel in, those new ideas. And I think what AI does is it's a great tool to then visualize those things, right? If you make a storyboard, you need the human to create that, and then maybe you use Sora or ChatGPT or OpenAI to help show that, and you see that with their storyboarding abilities, right? But it always comes back to the human. It always comes back to the humanity, and again, that's something that we've, it's been another theme within all these workshops is the ethics behind everything we're doing, the humanity behind everything we're doing, and always bringing it back to that, because I think at the end of the day, it's easy when you're in that grind to fall away from that. I think it's easy to, when it really comes to just about numbers and making money, it's easy to fall away from your ultimate mission and goal, whether that's social impact or bringing incredible solutions to the world. And I think more companies need to talk about this, and this is why Thinkland Demo is so important, because it refreshes not only the mind and body, with wellness. A shout out to Matt Asante, but it refreshes kind of again your vision and purpose, for your startup and for yourself.
Well, Mac, I'm glad you mentioned Matt Dusante. So this morning I stopped in, and they were so pumped from yesterday's session over at
Incredible.
Workhurst Place. So one of the things that the founders there is saying, and in dealing with this creativity and the attention, right? So in this day and age, every generation had some stress point that was on there. Going all the way back to the cave people's times, I'm sure it was stressful going out getting some water when the pterodactyls, or whatever they were called, were flying through the air looking to smash you. The dinosaurs, that was like a stress point. I got to get the water, and then you had all these various stress points that drop in. The rapid pace of and the constant noise, there's, and I'm not an expert in childcare or wellness or what have you, but what struck me when I was sitting through as a spectator on a great podcast that you produced on wellness, and again, one of the things anybody who runs an incubator, anybody who's an investor in it, you really like to see people in your portfolio work together so that it becomes like a networking, old-fashioned networking club. It's a networking club. And we're going to show you how we can help you with this. You can help me with that. In this particular case, the founder of Matt Dusante is a very creative person. Is frankly a leader in wellness choreography for all sorts of ages, for people who need to get physically active, and it's not something that they like to do. Her choreography is really geared towards all various stages of people's activity levels. But one of the things was a product that you recently developed, of which we are clients of. So, little full disclosure here: we have retained the new publishing house that Thinkland has, and Mac, I'll let you sort of get into that. And I want to talk about the creative aspect of it, because when a lawyer writes a white paper, you're really citing the law, the facts, this, that, and the other thing that you're trying to, whatever issues you're trying to address from a legal vantage point. But what struck me was that I could address a beef that I have with the U.S. Copyright Office with respect to having a blanket, let's close the eyes, about creativity surrounding AI. Now, granted, they're moving in the right direction after a lot of advocacy, and sometimes the law, you have to do this, you have to go through litigation in order to get, I understand it's not the most effective way of doing things, but it's the way, it is a democratic way of doing things. So what good IP lawyers have been litigating to say, hey, the prompt engineering, those prompts, those are copyrightable, all right? That's number one. But the end product, we don't see that. They're wrong. And in this paper, we're addressing that, because we use, and your background as an architect, and what's embedded in the architect is architectural art. We used your prompt engineering artists to create very unique pictures in the development of business development practices that lawyers use and don't use. So you guys all watch late night TV. You say, hey, call me 1-800, I'll get you $1 trillion if you slipped and fell in your neighbor's backyard. That's a very small percentage of marketing that lawyers do. So lawyers do what's called relations marketing and transactional marketing. And that requires that you have to have some sort of network. Now, if you're a big, large law firm, you've got a global network. But if you're a small guy, you don't have, or small gal, you don't have that network. But this is where you utilize the technology that developed in order for you to create those networks by going to a company like Pillow and Tea. And then if you're a writer and you can't get your manuscripts out there, you go to a publishing house in a digital company, because that publishing house is going to be able to get you that sort of that publication that you need. In this particular case, in our white paper, we decided that not only did we address the business development, transactional marketing, and relationship marketing in there for lawyers, and show how a digital company can put you on the same boat as a big, very large commercial firm. But we also addressed the issue that's really gnawing at me, is the end product of prompt engineering that's on, and those are in those pictures. And that's a paper that's going to be published before we hit Asia, I believe. Correct?
Yeah, and I think you've hit on, actually, Jerry, something that hits home deeply for Thinkland, because if I look at the foundation of Thinkland was design, and I was educated in design. I come from a design background, and this was kind of the concept for Thinkland at the very, very starting point, which was, hey, I have a certain skill set, of design and visuals and branding and digital marketing, that for a lot of people that I see in this world that need help, that don't have necessarily those skills, I can then help them, especially in industries like legal industries and certain industries that are not as in the creative space, that need help with that. And the development that you're talking about, the Thinkland Publishing House, I think is another avenue for us to help. Again, whether that's legal white papers or business development white papers, or whether it's even pitch books and pitch decks for companies, things that were normally more traditional, that in industries that need help with presenting it. And again, back to the attention thing, getting attention for investors, getting attention for new leads. That's what Thinkland now is in the business of. And I think design is super important. It's something that you see in everyday life, and people don't realize, if you don't have a design background, you don't realize how much it impacts your life and how much it affects it. And it's really important. And that when we a big reason for these workshops is what Thinkland does, and this incredible design team that Thinkland has now, is we work with all these founders to really develop that vision and brand. And again, this visual identity and brand identity, which is important. And I think that flows into this incredible opportunity for all these different businesses we work with the publishing house, because how you publish is important, whether it's for white papers, certain publications, case studies, and all the way to social media. How you're presenting your brand is so important for how you, again, gain attention, grow your community, and eventually sell your product or service. And I think the back to your first point with why we do these Thinkland demos, and shout out again to our sponsor MGSN.net, one of our co-sponsors, is that when we bring all these different companies together, we're able to take advantage of our different skill sets and our different values. So Thinkland, because we have that design background and that passion of design, we get to work with the incredible team, LPO team at SKJ Juris, and help them with their design and their publishing. We get to work with KLG and do their white papers. We get to work with Pillow and Tea and help develop their brand. We get to work with Madhu Sante, who's trying to develop their own children's and teens books on wellness.
That was a fantastic,
which is incredible.
I sat in that session as a spectator.
Yeah.
And folks, and one of the things that MGSN promised to do, and you'll see these in reels and shorts and what have you, is they were going to, as they've been doing since the start of the Q1 season, is where you open up, you have your business development goals, hopefully at your year end. And we can teach you that, why that's really important, no matter how small a business you operate is. And then you start the new year off running, and then you're going to rip that rut, just like, hey, I'm going to lose 3,000 pounds, by February. You hit that rut, but you want to keep that resilience. Max spoke about this, and so this session that I sat through, yesterday, I could see the creativity that was being, you'll see it yourself on the discussions with Matt Dusante and creating these books, these young books for the wellness for young
Mm-hmm.
people. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's going to be further product development meetings with Matt Dusante. We might even be hearing someday of a publishing agreement. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
possible?
it's super. I mean, again, we had a blast yesterday at Cowork Hers with Madu Sante. Not only did we capture a lot of great content, but the developments in the workshop with the in congruence with the publishing house is exciting. And the founder, again, go to madusante.com. You can check out. We're going to be publishing that interview. Relatively soon. She talks about this development, and it gets back again to the humanity that we were talking about previously. The reason she really is trying to develop this with England, for teens and for children, is that it is wellness for the family. She's all about getting, again, down to what everything's about. What is the I can't think of something that draws to the human condition and humanity at its best than family, and getting the family unit to be more cohesive and more in tune with wellness. And so this development with her is super exciting, and we're in discussions now of finalizing this development and really getting this to the market. And again, um, incredible founder, Quebec based startup. At that workshop, especially with, again, the co-work hers, and the female founded and female community focused space. It was just really, really fun, not only to sit down with her, but to develop this new product, because you can tell that it was inspirational. And when we talk about, again, the location, and the experience, you could see how much that fueled this development, bringing us together in that female focused community, in that beautiful co-working space. And again, why we do these events in co-working, because it, again, drives the concept of, hey, a shared space, a networking, a community, bringing people together that are working on, they might have different purposes and different missions, but they have different skills that can be collaborated together to then create new opportunity and new value to the marketplace. And again, man, these workshops have been phenomenal. Yesterday and today, and all the way through.
Mac, one of the points that you just touched on, which really, really important. So yes, if you are somebody who just got laid off and you're in San Francisco, and you're in a very expensive apartment and you can't seem to get your writing every day, you're getting more and more stressed that you got to meet your rent. Pillow and Tea will find you that solution with the workcation. You need to step aside because you got your bad news, you got home, you said at the TV, and all of a sudden you looked in and there was that 1-800, I'll get you $1 trillion commercial on, and you looked up, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're saying to myself, I got to get up, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Take Pillow and Tea up on its workation. It is brilliant. Now, workation's not just for somebody who's down in the dumps, who is now wants to know, how do I start a business? How do I get some creativity going? It's also good for corporations who want to do corporate retreats. We did this.
Mm-hmm.
My law firm did this in France during the Olympics, and I couldn't tell you what a fantastic, refreshing time we had that's on there. More importantly, my trial team will be, not more importantly, as importantly, we're going to be doing a workation in Pune, India. We're using Pillow and Tea. They're working with the logistics team at SKJ for the nice hotels, the nice dinner spots, but more importantly, the opportunity to look in at the various opportunities that are there for corporate retreats. And really one of the growing economies, that if you're in the business of, hey, I need to get as many consumers as I want who are capable of buying services, that country is very well poised for it. And that's where Pillow and Tea, you want to make sure that they're running your logistics because they're a travel tech company. If you guys want to, really figure out how you're going to get into the creative space, you definitely want to go into the design professionals that we have here. Don't go on too much because we use these guys a lot. Hey, listen, I'm looking over at your podcast production engineer. Are we running out of time there? Okay, so listen, Mac, we've been jabbing away
Yes, we
here
have.
because we're so excited. We became very creative here. So I just going to say, hey, how are we going to end this podcast?
I think, we got to end this podcast like we always do, and that is for everyone following us and the new followers as well. Go start your startups.